find that at trials, the opposing side emphasizes the bias to obtain leverage in the case?
Yes, sometimes. It just depends on what case you're in. I've had cases where you can tell that the other side is using their thoughts and what their makeup is to influence the judge and influence the case may be. You have to get the judges, sometimes it depends on which judge it is, to and which county you're in. Sorry, judge, but in which county you're in, to understand where people come from and why the situation is the way it is. There are more things that go into just a particular case. There's so much that goes into a juvenile case. There's so much that goes into a landlord tenant case that we just don't see. There's so many layers. I think that I have taken other white attorneys with me to court because I just need a white man to stand next to me because I know what's happening on the other side. They're using that implicit bias to get the judge or that friendship, or we're in this particular club together. It's it's very difficult for you to represent people who are poor and people of different races and color, that they feel that they're being that there's some implicit bias against them because of where they're from, what they look like, what their background is, and how they talk, what language vernacular that they're using. It's so hard to explain to them that the court in itself is being fair to them because this, and this happened. Rules are different, and you have to, myself and people who I work with, I know we go through a long process of explaining how this worked and where this came from and how it came to be. And for me and my clients, it's difficult to help them to understand that. And I have my own implicit biases. I do. I know that I do. And I will, and when you see a certain thing happening in court, it's hard for you not to react. But you have to make sure that your reactions are reflected as well. It's good. Sometimes
How do you explain it to a client? You said just sometimes you have to explain it to a client. How do you do that?
Well, it just depends on which client I have. If it's, say, if it's a Hispanic client, I say, no, the interpreter interprets exactly what you're saying. I go outside, I go through everything. I try to explain what the law says to them as opposed to what's happening and how we got to this point. If it's an African American client and they think the judge is prejudiced towards them, I explain to them that, hey, this is where you are versus what they think that you should be doing, and this is why it happened. I understand this part over here, but you have to see this. You didn't do this, and this, and you have to do it in this order. Sometimes it's about jumping through hoops to get to where you need to be, and that's difficult. People who say, well, Doris, how did you become president? Because look at all the people before you. Yes, you jumped through the hoops. I mean, but I jumped through the same hoops that you and Brian jumped through. We all decided to be on bar council. We all were on the executive committee. Then we all did this. But we knew that process. If you do not have the educational level or you don't have the experience in going to court, you are afraid and you don't know, especially if you walk into a courthouse where there are no judges that look like you. And people think that if you see a judge that doesn't look like you, then that judge doesn't understand you. And so you have to explain to your clients that they're here to follow the rule of law. And this is what the law is. And you go through that constantly with your clients so that they can understand. And if they have any questions, you answer those questions to the best of your ability. And they still think that the person is being prejudiced, then you just have to explain. I mean, I've been asked not to sit on the front. Only attorneys sit here. And I go, okay. And I sit down. And they still give you, the deputy comes over and says, excuse me. I said, this is for attorneys. And I said, okay, I know. And I sit there. And, you know, yes, I've been asked for my bar card before. But those are things that I can either react Or I can just say, okay, I understand that you were raised different. You're different, and this is how this is what you'll normally see. Like Dr. Crawford said, it may be intentional or unintentional. Most of the time, if you're Black, you think it's intentional, period. We're not thinking that your idea is unintentional. So I explain to my clients that what is happening is truly unintentional. Or I say, oh, I know Judge Capsalis. He's very nice. Don't worry about it. He didn't mean anything by it whatsoever. Believe you me, I hang out with him sometimes. I know his wife, family, and kids. So that makes them a little more at ease, because if you're a great lawyer, you know the judge.
Okay. I'm going to leave it at that.